This is chapter 3, part 5, and in this chapter we'll be dealing with some of the things that we have to deal with: making new friends, shifting focus, living independently, asking for help, building walls, your expectations, friend, family and personal, hindsight, regret and traditions. During loss, as I said earlier, you may lose family and friends. Not everyone can be there for the bad times. One of my closest friends abandoned me 3 days before my husband died. I was devastated, but it happens. Remember, friendships are either strengthened or weakened in difficult times. It is best to let the ones who can't or won't support go. Others will fill their place. Be open to new friends or people who return from the past. This is the time you need all the help that is offered. Take some risks and venture out. Although you feel vulnerable, it is better to try and make connections. I've found some new wonderful people who helped me through uncharted waters. They accepted me now as a single person and were generous with their love, counsel and time. No one replaces the one you have loved, but others do help you through the tricky days. Invest in people who invest in you, especially when your life is in crisis. These relationships were strengthened through my loss. Just knowing when someone says that you can ring them day and night is just such a gift. The experience of loss ebbs and flows, and it's like being swept along a fast-moving river, and having some support along the way means you arrive safely. Shifting focus. Loss means something you value is missing. Your focus was your loved one, therefore your focus, in a sense, has no focus. Your partner is gone. Shifting focus is paramount to moving forward. Without this intention, it is easy to stay back there. Naturally, there are times you revisit or reminisce, but accepting the new life is essential to focusing in a new way. I saw myself as single and widowed. As a single person, I picked up all the load and tried to be self-reliant. And as a widow, I worked through my emotional turmoil and nurtured myself. This was my life, and no hankering for the past or wanting to mourn forever was going to change it. Accepting my new role, I tried to stretch myself and not let fear and grief hold me back, and little by little I ventured out. It was hard and upsetting at times, but I knew that every time I succeeded I became stronger and more used to being alone. My marriage was a huge focus, so to make the shift felt really weird. Instead of focusing on what is missing, focus on what you have. In addition, be grateful for having loved another person so completely. If they were the love of your life, you will always know that. Not everyone is that lucky to have a relationship like that. Shifting focus requires effort, and it's not a very comfortable change, but it does help you move ahead and not get bogged down from wanting what you can't have. In a way, shifting focus is accepting. Living independently. After living in a couple relationship for over 40 years, living single again challenged me. I spoke about this earlier. Although I had been living on my own while he was in care, there was still a void. After the death, you are alone, and the routines and the outings are gone. Driving alone, having to do all the chores on your own. Loss creates an empty hole that is not always possible to fill, and no one replaces your partner. Your mum or dad or your kids can't do that. You have to fill up the void yourself. Often I floated through the weeks trying to make sense of it all. You may avoid walking in your favourite park because it brings up too much emotion, or change the channel when a program you both enjoyed comes on. When you are stronger, you can do more. To be independent means you are self-reliant. Initially, I was anything but that. I struggled in the morning, in the afternoon and in the evening. And as I said before, the day seemed forever. But as you build up your independent life, it will become more bearable. To move on, you need to rebuild your life. The loss of your loved one comes with you as you shop alone or sit in the coffee shop. But every time you live as a single person, you reinvent yourself. When you pay the bills or fix the remote control, you assert your new independence. All these seemingly small achievements allow you to gather your strength and move ahead. You pine when you suffer a loss, and it is crippling, but life does go on, and every time you act as a single person and are independent, you heal. Asking for help might be hard. It's supposed to be really simple and easy to do, but I found it quite hard to ask for help. It can be difficult. And when you're used to depending on one person, it takes sort of a shift to ask assistance from someone else. At first it scares you. How could you possibly do everything on your own? So come up with a plan. Attempt to fix what you can, and what you can't, get help. We usually have family and friends in times of need. One phone call or text meant I was not alone. When there was a chore I could not do, I decided to call the man in the van. The man in the van is the expert in the chosen field, and he or she would solve it. Once I came to the realization that in fact I was surrounded by assistance, I felt relieved and supported. In the future, I could repay the favour. Anxiety and worry diminish once you find a solution. So when the nervousness arises, remember that you do have support. There are many changes after loss. The props that held you up might be gone, but you can get new people to help you. There are wonderful people everywhere. Building walls. Loss is such a private experience that it's easy to build walls around yourself. And sometimes you do need the walls to hide behind. And when it's a bit unbearable, it's a safe and insular sanctuary. In my worst moments, I had to let all the emotions pour out, and I didn't want to be with anyone. The breaking down was too much, and I wanted to shelter myself behind my fortress. You have to express your loss, and when you are with others, you can't. And until a misery comes out, you cannot probably be with someone else, and these private times are normal. But walls are another situation. Walls keep people out and not good long term. Being alone is a healthy choice, but erecting walls between ourselves and others is unhealthy. Try not to shut others out for any length of time. Living in a fortress makes healing slower and in certain cases impossible. Eventually you crumble behind your walls and need actually more help. Walls serve as protection when you can't face the world. Make sure they are temporary features, though, in the grief journey. Family and friend expectations. After loss, you may feel needy. Your life is turned upside down and you're more alone than you've ever felt. A part of you wants to be alone because you're such a mess. Another part is screaming for love and support, and balancing these parts is difficult. Your expectations of others may be sorely tested. Most people are ill-equipped to deal with grief. They do not know what to do. They do not know what to say, and this creates problems. And their inability to read the help signals leaves you wanting. There are a few people who seem to nail it every time, knowing when to ring and when to stand back. But the majority of family and friends don't know what to do with you. People you thought would get it do not, and others do. You often encounter difficulties in this area, and after feeling invisible with certain individuals, I decided to address my expectations. Basically, I had to lower them and stop putting my expectations on others. Although you have no right to expect anything from others, it is a natural outcome. It just happens. Lowering or negating expectations is a huge shift when you are grieving. I used emotional freedom tapping and release work to let go of these expectations. Although some of my expectations were already low, they were still causing problems. Feeling hurt and ignored just added to the pain. Practice becoming more self-reliant than depending on people. People are only able to give so much. And don't let this stop you loving or being with them. Unconditional love means you do not wish to punish them, but try to be understanding. Emotions are really hard for many people to deal with. They can barely deal with their own emotions, let alone another person's. Don't take it personally. Empaths are skilled, but not all of us are empaths. Loss affects everyone, and we will all respond differently. Lowering personal expectations. I wanted the misery to be over as soon as possible, and waking up day after day feeling this bad was depressing. I really wanted to move through my grief as quickly as I could. However, it takes as long as it takes, and we're all different. Eventually, I really had to lower my expectations and go with the flow. Try to allow the process to evolve. Although the pain is excruciating, it is also uncontrollable. Time is of little consequence, and focusing on the day-by-day, week-by-week scenario is better. Sometimes family and friends exert a lot of pressure, thinking it is helpful when in fact it creates more stress. Be firm and clear with them. Although they think they know, nothing could be further from the truth. You are living the loss, and therefore your boundaries need to change. No one going through grief wants to be there any longer than necessary. I just had to lower my expectations. I stopped expecting my sleep to be as before. Some nights I was awake crying or thinking till 5 a.m. I just accepted it. I also had days feeling fatigued and I could hardly stay awake in the afternoons. Although my eating was abnormal, I came to terms with it and listened to my body. It was reminding me how fragile I was, and in time I knew everything would return to normal. At least I fitted into all my clothes easily, and that was a bonus. When you use drinking, smoking and drugs, you are self-soothing. In times of need, these activities might increase. Try to understand that your body is under stress and trying to soothe itself. Keep an eye on the situation. As you heal, recognize that your use of these crutches will lessen. Lowering expectation takes the pressure off and allows the process to unfold naturally. Hindsight. Hindsight is a bitch. With hindsight, you understand the situation or event after it has happened. And looking back, it all seems to make sense and you have the light bulb moment. Hindsight is annoying because you wish you had got it before. After a death, hindsight may plague you. All the if-onlys come up in your mind and it can mess with you. Let it go. It's done and nothing will change the past. Understanding what occurred cannot change a thing. Hindsight may make you experience guilt and regret. Use your revelations as a lesson. They are teaching you about things. Once you learn the lesson or gain the understanding, move on. It's easy to get locked into feeling upset once hindsight occurs. The best outcome is to accept what happened and learn the lesson for next time. During the passing, you are not functioning well and many things get missed. Be gentle with yourself because you were struggling to get through every day without being an all-seeing God. Hindsight happens for everyone, and looking back always brings new realizations. Remember, you did the best under the circumstance. When you wished you had done more, simply forgive yourself. Regret. Regret is tied in with hindsight. It's a sad emotion and filled with disappointment and remorse. Many widowed people hold regrets, rightly or wrongly. You feel you never did enough or you could have done better. It's normal to have these emotions. I regretted we did not have longer together, and I regretted how he died. It was terribly sad. But like hindsight, there was nothing I could do. All the trips we could have done, the fact new grandchildren were arriving and he was gone, all added to the pile. Your dreams and hopes are dashed with death, and you will have many regrets. Your love is gone and there's no future with them. Later, the regrets fade and you begin to be grateful for what you had together. Regrets are a form of mourning. During the passing, you may regret not doing what you wanted to do. Remember, you did the best you could under trying circumstances. It is very easy to look back in judgment. In my opinion, regret is water under the bridge. Traditions. Traditions may undo you, especially in the first few years. When you've spent years or decades going through your life with traditions, they will bring everything up. There are some which you may better wing through, but some will just be too hard. Change your old traditions until you are more recovered. This decision will not be forever and gives you respite. There may be comfort in the old patterns and traditions, but they can actually spoil your day. When time has passed, your ability to weather them is easier. Your family is also going through a grieving time and they may not want to do the old things or they may want to retain them. You both have to decide. There are many years ahead and missing a couple of years does not change it. Although it appears like a small gesture, you will be grateful. I could not bear to do Christmas as before, so I changed it. No decorations, no Christmas tree and no pudding. I was glad I changed the tradition for that year. You can change your life. You can alter everything. You have to do what makes you feel better now. You have to do what helps you get through the day. Just you, with no one else's expectations. You can get through this.